Hello and welcome to a very, very saturated and wet circuit here at Karting Genk, the home of champions, for the final race day of the 2019 BNL Karting Series season here in the Limburg region in Belgium. Dry weather yesterday, but the heavens have quite literally graced us with their presence, and there has been an absolute deluge of rainfall over the overnight and also this morning. But today we have 6 champions to crown to bring a new chapter into the Roll of Honour history for the BNL Karting Series here at the home of champions. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, the official BNL Karting Series commentator, broadcasting here on the PA at the circuit on the dedicated live stream, which is provided by our good partners at Camp Company GmbH, and also on our audio stream partners, Downforce Radio, the nation's motorsport station, broadcasting live and direct from the circuit. And the wind has also picked up in the meantime, so it's going to be a very different aspect, and we'll find out what happens in terms of who is going to become one of the 6 champions this weekend. 4 categories, which is Junior Max, Senior Max, DD2 and DD2 Masters. One driver will get probably one of the last tickets that are going for the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals that take place in Sarno in southern Italy in just 2 weeks' time, starting on the 19th of October. We will also be giving away 3 tickets to the 2020 Rotax Max Challenge International Trophy, taking place at Le Mans, of all places, next August, with Micromax, DD2 and DD2 Masters weekend winners taking that particular prize, and it is an entry-only ticket. Again, we have the same timetable as yesterday, and very shortly we'll be getting underway with our first qualifying sessions of the weekend, which will be Senior Max, as we had yesterday, split into 2 groups, as we've had 43 competitors battle tooth and nail throughout yesterday's action. All qualifying sessions will take place over a duration of 5 minutes. And then we will go into racing action for the final time this season. And this is the 6th and final day of competition. We had 2 days of competition back here at Karting Genk in the last weekend of March. We then headed to Karting d'Espagne in Marienburg for the first weekend of July. And now we wait to see what unfolds before our very eyes here. Time now is locally 9 o'clock Central European Summer Time. And the green flag waves, and we are going to get things underway with our first of 2 Senior Max qualification sessions. Group 1 now out on their way from the pre-grid onto the circuit. 1,360 metres of very, very saturated asphalt here. And on the aggregate in terms of their qualifying times, the drivers will be then split into 3 groups, A, B and C, with each driver having a chance to compete in 2 qualification heats to see if they can get enough points to go into the automatic 28 qualification spots for the final race of the season. And then we have a second chance heat later on today, which will give another 8 drivers an opportunity to become part of the full 36-strong grid that will take part in that final. And this is where the unpredictability sets in. The drivers have had a warm-up. They're now out qualifying at the minute. We've got the likes of Kieran Gifford, Jason Lockwood, Patrick Rundquist, Emily de Hoys, Mario Sidler, Matilda Olsson, Oscar Hall, Vincent van Kerkhoffen, Dylan LaHaye, who took 2 victories yesterday. So Clayton Ravenscroft in the battle for the title, which will have a new champion in the Senior Max category this very weekend. Is on the back foot, so the Brits got to pull something out of the bag, bring the rabbit out of the magician's hat, so to speak, as the first benchmarks coming in. Weather specialist Jason Lockwood already at the top of the timesheets, followed quickly by some KR Sport teammates, which includes Kieran Gifford in 3rd and Patrick Rundquist from Sweden in 2nd place. And this is a great equaliser, the rainfall, as we'll find out who really... Now, for want of a better term, they do say that the Brits like the wet weather, and it does spice up the action, but it also is a great equaliser. Oh, we've had the 376. That's Bram Ossevaarde, who's gone 180 degrees the wrong way, and I'm trying to see what that is. That's actually on the back straight there. So Bram being avoided quite literally by all and sundry as they try to make their way past, as Jason Lockwood continues to lead the timesheets on a 1 minute 16.382. That's just over 2/10 ahead of Patrick Rundquist. Dylan LaHaye in third, Kieran Gifford in fourth. Nelson King rounds out the top five. Ahead of Victor Plateau, James Lingard, Mathilde Olson, Josh Powell and Felix Vargier from Belgium rounding out the top 10. Still very, very treacherous, and the inside of these curbs, especially on the inside of turn number 10, has got a little bit of a water puddle there, and it's going to unsettle the car because it will bottom out. And granted that these drivers are just literally millimetres above the track surface, and it's getting a bit treacherous when they're trying to power out of the corners, especially out of the final corner. You can see that the rear axles are getting a bit tail happy as Fabian Bock jumps up into fourth. Felix Vargier up into sixth place. Jason Lockwood is the only driver to go sub 1 minute 16, 1 minute 15.348 from the Brit. Dylan LaHaye looks to have improved there, but not improved in terms of positioning. He's still running third. Nelson King up into fourth, ahead of Fabian Bock, Kieran Gifford, Felix Vargier, Victor Plateau, Vincent van Kerkhoffen, and Clémentine Benoit in the 387, rounding out the top 10 at the moment. So a gap of around about 1.3 seconds between first and 10th in terms of pure... Well, that's more like 2 seconds, to be honest with you. 2.373 from Lockwood to Benoit. So 70 seconds left on the clock. No one's got a real answer for Lockwood, who absolutely thrives in wet weather conditions, as I found out from him at the Euro Trophy season finale at Wackersdorf just a month ago, as he surprised everyone and put it on pole. And Lockwood's gone even quicker. That's a humongous effort there from the 315 from KR Sport, a 1 minute 14.907, and that is a gap of nearly 7/10 back to Patrick Rundquist from Sweden. Mario Sidler now up into ninth. Josh Powell from the United Kingdom up into what was 15th, now drops down to 19th. It's Felix Vargier remains in the top 10 at the moment. Clémentine Benoit, the 387, has gone up into 9th ahead of Mathilde Olson, who rounds out the top 10 as we've got 21 seconds remaining in this first of two lottery-driven Senior Max qualification groups. Dylan LaHaye rounding out the top four at the minute, and he's about 9/10 off of Jason Lockwood in terms of pure qualifying lap pace. But as they say, times are for show, points are to go, and LaHaye has got a clear advantage. Checkered flag now waves on the start-finish line, as we'll get our first couple of competitors coming across the line very, very shortly. And the first one looks to be Lockwood, I believe. And he doesn't improve. He actually goes to a 1 minute 15.017 on his last lap, but still was quickest than anybody. Rundquist gets pretty quick within there. 2/10 off of the Brit. Nelson King, and just waiting now, Mathilde Olson takes 5th. Lingard 6th ahead of Gifford and Van der Mosselaar. Felix Vargier 10th. Well, Nick Van der Mosselaar actually drops down to 9th as Fabian Bock has gone up to 7th ahead of Kieran Gifford. And we're just waiting for Georgios Bersis from Greece, who I think is just making his way around the final corner. So that's the first qualification session over and done with for Senior Max. And Jason Lockwood with an impressive 1 minute 14. Now that is a huge puddle on the inside of turn 6. People are going to have to be very wary when they go racing a little bit later on this morning. 1 minute 14.907 for the Brits. Patrick Rundquist in second, just 2/10 adrift. And it's a further 0.262 back to Nelson King. Dylan LaHaye in fourth. Mathilde Olson in fifth, ahead of James Lingard. Fabian Bock rounds out the top 7, ahead of Kieran Gifford, Nick Van der Mosselaar and Belgium's Felix Vargier. Clémentine Benoit, Mario Sidler, Bram Ossevade, Victor Plateau, Endo Shogo from Japan, Tim Mikametz from Germany, Vincent van Kerkhoffen, Max Demerdink and Emily de Hoys, with Georgios Bersis now in 20th place ahead of Josh Powell and Oscar Hall. So those 22 drivers have completed their qualifying session. So that is the end of that one. We'll then very shortly go on to the second group, but good impressive drive. It's a KR Sport 1-2 with effectively 5 different teams represented. You've got KR Sport, Dan Honda Racing, GKS Lemons Power, based here at Karting Genk. It's the main base of the operations here. And also Matilda Olsson representing Strawberry Racing. And we had 2 Brits, 2 Swedes, and a Belgian in the top 5. With Oscar Hall being the last of the slowest of the qualifiers, 4.264 seconds off of the pace. And with drivers that haven't had that much track time around here, it can be a bit of a daunting prospect. But that's not to say that qualifying is the first port of call where we see the initial people sort of rise to the fore, they rise to the challenge, and then you see that others falter by the wayside. But it's not going to be easy for anybody here this weekend, especially with our youngest competitors, the Micro and the Minimax competitors. I've had a good chat with a few people around the paddock. Great to catch up with Ollie Wise, the only UK driver that's been able to make it from the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships Forest Edge Micromax UK final, which was a one-off. I spoke with him and his father Matthew this morning. Ollie's looking forward to it because now it's wet. It's going to be a very different prospect for the youngster from the UK. He's been running with the KR Sport guys this weekend who've been helping him out as much as possible. And we'll see what that young lad has to offer. Let's see if he goes higher than the top 10, as in up towards, maybe even towards the top 5 later on this morning in qualifying. So for further information on the championship itself, head to BNL Karting Series.com. We're also on social. So Twitter, it's at Karting BNL. Instagram, it's at BMC_BNL, which is also the home for the Belgium Max Challenge and also for the Rotax Grand Finals Team Belgium, who will be heading to Sarno in just a couple of weeks' time. I'm pleased to be going along with them to help with the social media content from Sarno in southern Italy, and we'll be presenting the official Team Belgium squad later on this afternoon. For just a paddock announcement in general, we were scheduled to host the podium down just off of the inside of turn number 10, but there has been a change to that. Where the terrace on the restaurant is, we will be hosting the podiums there, which will be taking place at around about 16:30, that's 4:30 p.m. local time here at Karting Genk. So please feel free to interact with us on social media. You can, because you'll actually get in touch with me directly as I am running them at the moment. You can also go to Facebook as well. Type in BNL Karting Series. Please give us a like, share as much as you want as well. And please feel free to also subscribe to the Camp Company GmbH official YouTube channel, which is actually streaming 2 race weekends. We're broadcasting here. The Camp Company GmbH are broadcasting here, and also for the RMC Clubsport in Rüdelsheim in Germany. So a lot of work going on behind the scenes, thanks to Mike Wagner and his very, very accredited team as well, with who I've had the pleasure of working with since April 2018, and they've been providing a live stream for us throughout the 2019 season. So if you're not in your cars, or if you're in your car and you can't watch the film, you can't watch the video, head to Downforce Radio, the nation's motorsport station. We are broadcasting live on our Spreaker network. You will hear every single bit of action as it happens, live and direct with myself behind the microphone. So we are broadcasting globally in not just video, but also an audio stream as well, a dedicated audio stream, which is continuing with the BNL Karting Series for next season. So in about 4 minutes' time, we'll get underway with the second group qualification session for Senior Max. Then we'll have Juniors, a fully subscribed grid, 36. We even had to put out a waiting list for that one. So 36 competitors here with us this weekend. I've seen 35 run pretty much this weekend, so it's still going to be very interesting. Had a really good chat with the Ginchards this morning as well. And they are still beaming from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland about the victory that Dan took yesterday afternoon. Just to hear his thoughts and how he was feeling after that was just a joy to behold, because you knew how much it meant to a young driver such as Dan. And there's a lot of young drivers out there that when they have that lull where they're not getting the results, they're not having lady luck on their side, and to see that joy and emotion of just sheer bliss and happiness is really, really nice to see. So the qualifying practices will carry on until around about 20 past 10, barring any slight delays in terms of recoveries. Firstly, I also have to give a very big thank you to the entire marshalling team here at Karting Genk, braving the elements, as are the photographers, the media that are here with us this weekend, which also includes kartphoto.com with Michael Mellis and the team, providing the fantastic imagery that we've been treated to all season. And the photos will be available officially on kartphoto.com after the race weekend at some point in the mid part of the week, with high definition resolution pictures available to download via their direct website. But the marshalling team here, always exemplary. The recovery crew do a fantastic job and get the karts off circuit to keep this meeting running as swiftly and as smoothly as possible. So if anyone was to ask me right now, what are my predictions for today? I couldn't tell you. Unpredictability is the main point word here, where I can't really sort of like say, yeah, I think this person's going to do really well, or this person's going to do really well, or we might see some argy-bargy out on the circuit. Well, we're guaranteed of that later on today, I tell you that much, but it's difficult because when you have such a climactic shift in atmospherics, you never can see what curveballs are going to be thrown in the general direction of the races that end up on track, as the second group of Cinemax drivers are in their karts, just primed, ready. I think I recognise Charlie Turner at the front of the grid there. For those watching on the live stream at home, wherever you are in the world, welcome and thank you for joining us. So the rain suits are well and truly being adorned on every single driver that is here this weekend, all 119 drivers that have ventured here to the Limburg region, not too far off the German and Dutch borders, and also the fact that this track has seen quite a few famous motorsport names go through it, such as Jenson Button and Robin Freins, who were competing at the last day of competition of the 2019 DTM series at the famed Hockenheim Ring this weekend. There's also some more motorsport action, actually not too far away from here in Zolder, with the finale of the NASCAR Euro Wheeling Series, amongst others. So the clock now strikes pretty much 9:15, and we'll get the green flag waving for the second Cinemax qualification practice session here in Karting Genk, and there is a big puddle coming out of the pre-grid there. So Charlie Turner is the first one to cross the line. Sam Harrison looking to have a bit more luck today. Andreas Hebel. Teddy Clinton had a quick chat with him. He said, I'll see what I can do in qualifying today, and hopefully I can get up as far the field as possible. Well, we'll see what Teddy does in the meantime. Tom Edmonds, Zen Rudenberg, Will Jenkins, from the Philippines, Eduardo Cosseteng, Clayton Ravenscroft, Guilherme de Oliveira. He had a wiring issue when I spoke to him and his dad Paulo this morning. He said hopefully the wet weather will be a bit of a helping hand this today on finals day, and I sort of kind of nodded in agreement there, because it is nice that when you have a change in weather conditions, the unpredictability factor just goes up to an infinite fold. You never know what's going to transpire. So we're going to wait for the first banker laps to be put in, and you can just see how much these drivers are tippy-toeing around the circuit here at Karting Genk. So Charlie Turner looks to be the first one to cross the finish line, and will set the initial benchmark, and is being followed, looks like Andreas Hebert in the 327 from France. So Turner getting a bit sideways as he comes out the final corner and goes second initially. Will Jenkins, Clayton Ravenscroft jumps up to the top of the timesheets with a 1 minute 16.682. So Kian Sang also favouring a little bit now. Andreas Hebert is trying to keep that kart steered going forwards through turn 6 and has got Charlie Turner. Oh, that's very sideways from Hebao. I don't think he wanted that, and he clatters into the curbs on the inside of turn 7, and that's only just in qualifying. Oh, that's going to be really, really spicy a little bit later on when they get to those particular corners. So it will be interesting how things will happen. Clayton Ravenscroft is leading in this session at the moment. Not really. Now, I'm just keeping an eye. Jason Lockwood's time was 1 minute 14.9. Ravenscroft is nearly 2 seconds off that at the minute, as Charlie Turner is now at the head of the field that is now making its way through. Looks like Andreas Hebao is just a cart or two in front of Clayton Ravenscroft. So Turner just trying to keep it nice and steady, modulating the throttle as he comes through the final corner. So Ravenscroft improves and goes to that's just over a second slower than Jason Lockwood. Mick Knowlton from the Netherlands now up into second ahead of Andreas Hebao. Sam Harrison and Charlie Turner ran out the top 5. We'll make that Lewis Gilbert now going into second on a 1 minute 16.648. So Brunstils also goes up into 5th place. So Harrison and Turner down into 6th and 7th ahead of Will Jenkins and Kian Sang, who ran out the top 9, and the top 10 completed by the Netherlands' very own Lorenzo Stolk. Maxim Turiev from Russia 11th. Teddy Clinton, Tom Edmonds, Ehad Turka and Guilherme de Oliveira ran out the top 15, and they are separated by 3.3 seconds. That's how much the gaps are being spread. Oh, and that's not... Someone's gone spinning off. So 2 cars going into one piece of tarmac, and one got spat out the other side. Driver's trying to regain, and that looks to be... I'm wondering, was that Andreas Hebao again? So Hebao's not having a good run. I'm just trying to keep an eye on where he is on the circuit. Now he's coming through the final corner. So that looked to be on the... That could have been Yashtan Jankan that might have gone off there, and that looked to be a KR Sport driver alongside the Dutch driver. So some drivers will have to watch what happens, but Mick Knowlton is now quickest, and he is just over half a second off the pace that's been set by Jason Lockwood, who will automatically go through to Group A. So the times will be split into the relevant groups, as Charlie Turner is currently 3rd at the minute, as Mick Knowlton improves yet again. That's 0.29, that's just under 3/10 off of Lockwood's pace. As you can just see how much of a rooster tail there is coming from the 2 rear Mojo tyres, wet tyres on the cars here. So Knowlton from Ravenscroft. Turner, as that's getting really treacherous. Some people are going towards the outside of turn 7, and when they're braking, you can just see the back end's trying to slip and get away from the driver. So now the checkered flag's going to wave. First person to get it will be Charlie Turner. Let's see if he improves on 3rd place in this qualifying group. So it waves, he crosses the line and does not. Goes to within a 10th. Ravenscroft still stays 2nd, keeping an eye on what Mick Knowlton does. So Will Jenkins 4th, Andreas Hebao and Sam Harrison at the moment ran out the top 6, with Guilherme de Oliveira having a much better effort this time around. No problems for the Portuguese driver in qualifying. P7, Lorenzo Stolk in 8th. 3 drivers haven't crossed the line yet. Well, Mick Knowlton's just about to. And we'll have Ramjankan in the Netherlands close behind. Ramjankan goes 19th. Knowlton improves, but it's not... that is just over a 10th of a second off of Jason Lockwood's time. And Lewis Gilbert, the 3:29, I'm just waiting for him to cross the line, if he has. So Mick Knowlton takes pole position in the second group of qualifying, but does not get quicker than Jason Lockwood. You can just see how much these drivers are fighting the conditions. A lot of a lot of corrections behind the steering wheel at the minute, as the drivers now go single file into the pit lane just off of the exit of turn 11. So Mick Knowlton takes the session ahead of Clayton Ravenscroft, Charlie Turner, Will Jenkins, Andreas Hebao, Sam Harrison, Ilian Brunstils, Guilherme de Oliveira, with Lorenzo Stolk and Kian Sang from Persistence Motorsport taking the running at the top 10. Lewis Gilbert in 11th with Teddy Clinton, Tom Edmonds, Maxim Turiev and Eduardo Cosateng from the Philippines running at the top 15. Running out the 21 that completed qualifying, all separated by 4.646 seconds, is Ehad Turka, Storbroer, Ben Donkin, Yashram Jankan, Zen Rudenberg, and Mads Ries of Denmark. So Mads, a bit of work to do for the young Dane. So a bit of brief maintenance, a bit of work there going on. Just one of the corners there. Looks to be turn 4 there. It's part of the triple left-hander here from 3, 4 and 5. So they're just cleaning up the divots in between the curbing. So that concludes qualifying for the Senior Max division here for the final day of the BNL Karting Series season. And in around just under 7 minutes' time will be our last qualifying session of the season for Junior Max. And it has been very, very interesting in terms of who has... Now, I'm just going to have a quick look at the weekend results for the juniors from yesterday. So, Junior Max, for the day 1 result, which was yesterday, Tom Reinarts from the Netherlands took a total of 40 points. Second was Mylan Coppens, and Dan Ginchard rounds out the top 3, but just a single solitary point behind Coppens. Jules Castro and Mike van Vugt round out the top 5, with van Vugt having looks to be a 3rd place finish in the first final, and he was just at the bottom part of the top 10. For the second race. Ollie Pilker is about 3 points behind in 7th position. So the advantage looks to be swinging in the favour of Dan Ginchard in terms of the championship standings, because there was a bit of a bigger gap going between Chris Hanen and Dan Ginchard. But Ginchard now could be ahead of the Dutch driver in terms of the points. Now, for those wondering about the championship standings, what happens is that the drivers will take their best 10 scores out of the 12, and that will be their championship tally. If you have an exclusion, that goes into one of your 10 scores. You cannot drop an exclusion. And in terms of the top 10, they were separated by 30 points. So it was Tom Reinarts who pretty much won day 1. Mylan Coppens in 2nd, Dan Ginchard in 3rd, ahead of Jules Castro, Mike van Vugt, Chris Hanen, Ollie Pilker, Kai Rielets having a good showing, having made a switch to JJ Racing. He was also at the Euro Trophy finale in Wackersdorf a month ago. Seems to be a bit more settled and enjoying getting a bit more mileage under his belt. Tom Breken, last year's Minimax champion for the BNL Karting Series, is with us here this weekend, and he's currently level on points with Danny Van Dyke. But in terms of if you have like a countback situation, the most recent result is the one that helps towards your tally. So effectively Breken is ahead of Van Dyke, who pulled off, I think, hands down, one of the most audacious and opportunistic moves I think I have seen in a very, very long time. If anyone might remember last season when Clayton Ravenscroft went round the outside of at least 2 to 3 drivers on the final corner here in the last race day of the weekend, we had Danny Van Dyke's variation, which was the 4 in front are battling for the lead. I'm going to go up all 4 of them on the inside of turn 10 and have them done by turn 11. He proved that very, very convincingly yesterday, and did a really good job to do that. But it just goes to show that if there is a window of an opportunity, as the late Ayrton Senna de Silva would say, if you don't go for a gap, you're not a racing driver. And that was clearly the case in point. I think there was a bit of a red mist and a bit of Senna motivation for Danny Van Dyke to pull off that audacious move. But we'll see how things transpire. We've got about 3 or so minutes until Junior Max qualifying comes into play here. And what will happen is that in terms of the qualifying for the respective races, what will happen is that, say for instance, you go P11 in the first race. Let's take for instance Dan Ginchard from yesterday. Obviously all results that are being called out by myself during the live broadcast and also on the live PA are provisional before any sporting and technical checks take place. So let's say, for instance, let's look at Dan Ginchard yesterday as a prime example. Started pretty much at the back end of the grid, 35th in the first race yesterday. Makes his way through the field to 11th. Post-race, 3 drivers get demoted due to post-race penalties and starts 8th and then goes on to win the last race of that day. That just shows how much, if a driver wants it and is hungry enough, it's like the wolf at the bottom of the mountain. Only the wolf at the top of the mountain knows that the food is there, but then you've got the hungry wolves wanting to climb up and dethrone that wolf at the top of it. So there are cases where that driver will have the red mist full in the visor and will give no quarter and will take any risk. Sometimes the risks can be calculated pretty well, but then sometimes there's that risk where you go too hot into a corner, you miss your braking point, you overstep the line, and then all of a sudden you're out of it. But Dan Ginchard just showed yesterday that it is possible to scythe your way through the field and make pretty good progress. As I was keeping my eye on him on the first final yesterday. So we're about a minute away from their qualifying session for the Genie Max contingent. And also for those watching the live stream at home, you will have seen that we've had a trailer for the Rotax Max Challenge Winter Cup next February. So we head to Andalusia, to Malaga, to Karting Campillos for the inaugural, under the through the promoters Camp Company GmbH, the Rotax Max Challenge Winter Cup, 21st to the 23rd of February 2020 at Karting Campillos in Malaga. Looks to be a very nice facility. And it's over 1,500 metres. I think it's 1,580. So that's another opportunity for people to get themselves involved. It also has great prizes on offer, which includes entry tickets to the International Trophy next year, full season entries being paid for the Rotax Max Euro Trophy season, back to a four-round calendar next year. Now we get underway with qualifying for Junior Max, as the Rotax roars are in unison on those 125cc Rotax Max Evo Junior Max engines. So again, we are going to see times not in the comparative sense of what we had yesterday, but there will be some that will rise to the challenge of the wet weather conditions. And in some respects, you can pretty much you can't guarantee 100%, but you can pretty much be assured that a champion's drive will come in at that moment where they are so much under pressure to perform. They've got to make sure that they position the kart in the right place, hit the braking point where they need to, turn in at the right time, and make sure that there's no undue contact, because karting is a non-contact sport. Looks like we've got Chris Harnan, who's going to be the first one to give us an initial banker lap time. So Harnan comes out of the final corner and a little bit further back from Jeffrey Fixer. Fixer sets the initial benchmark of a 1 minute 18.071, followed by Jeff Machiels, Sweden's Vidgot Edqvist, Flint Schuring, Chris Harnan, Spencer Schinner, Ollie Pilker, Christian de Klein, Bruno Malders and Tom Adams there. Jules Castro and Lars Zanen a little bit further down the order as Tom Heinitz jumps up into third place. on a 1 minute 19.066. Then we've got Georgios Kalifitidis from Greece, a little bit further up the order. But here springs France's very own Margot Bonvoisin up to 5th place as Mylan Coppens goes back again to the top of the timesheets. Youngster from Bouvin Power. On a 1 minute 17.949. Jeffrey Fixer, Mike Van Vugt, Kai Rilletz, Jeff Machiels, Bonvoisin, Reinarts, Edqvist, Schuring and Chris Harnon ran out the top 10, and they're separated by 1.7 seconds. Some drivers quite literally clattering into the curbs at some points, and sometimes the curbs, if they're level with the circuit, can be the slipperiest thing. It's like skating on ice, and especially when you've got some standing water puddles, especially out of the final corner heading onto the main start-finish straight, as Harlan got a bit of wheel spin going through, coming out of that corner. And there's definitely some drivers taking some very different lines, which looks to be Jeff Machiels in the 257, who went very wide going into turn 2. Did the same at turn 3 and pretty much was nigh on 2 wheels off the track going into turn 3. And there's a couple of other drivers. And sometimes in the wet, it's not, the racing line isn't necessarily where you're going to find the optimum amount of grip. And this is what some of the drivers are probably going to do as part of this session. So Summer Webb up to 28th. Kai Rilletz still sitting in the top 10 as the young Belgian in the 274. 7th at the moment, ahead of Chris Harnon. Dan Ginchard running at the top 11 is 1.688 seconds off of Ollie Pilker, who now takes the top spot on a 1 minute 17.189. 0.132 ahead of Sweden's Vilgot Edqvist. Then it's Christian de Clay, Flint Schuring, Jeffrey Fixer and Mike Van Vugt, who rounds out the top 7. Then it's Rilletz, Chris Harnon in 8th, Mylan Coppens and Jeff Machiels now round out the top 10, ahead of Dan Ginchard and Margot Bonvoisin from France. Then it's Bruno Molders, Danny Van Dijk, Tom Heinatz and Bart de Wit. That rounds out the top 16 as Flint Schuring goes up to 4th. Pilker improves on time and bridges the gap between himself and Vilgot Edqvist with around 50 seconds of the session to go to just over a tenth of a second. Ginchard and Molders improve on time but not in position. So 17th onwards, it is now Danny Van Dijk as Tom Heinatz now jumps up to 13th as Danny Van Dijk now responds and overtakes his fellow countryman in that respect. Mylan Coppens now up into 6th. Kalifadis from Greece, 23rd. Summer Webb in 32nd. Oscar Christensen all the way down in 29th, youngster with RS competition. So Matthew Higgins, fraction outside the top 10 at the moment. He's about 3/10 off of the pace that Chris Harnon is setting. So the young Welshman doing his best to get up the order. That's it for the session. Checkered flag will now wave for the first driver to cross the line, which will be very shortly. And it looks to be, I think that could be Nikita Gensa. Well, that was Fixer. Harnon goes second with that lap. That's a good one. And he came to within 8 1,000ths of a second off of Ollie Pilker. So will Pilker respond? Well, Pilker's dropped to second now because Edqvist has just gone provisional pole. Van Vugt yet to cross the finish line at the minute. As Ginchard qualifies provisionally 11th. Higgins is dropping out of the top 13 as Kalifadis from Greece goes 13th. Higgins goes 14th ahead of Spencer Schinner. Van Vugt manages to get up to 6th in the end. So a lot of things happening in this qualifying session, with 35 of them coming out on circuit. So Vilgot Edqvist from Sweden takes the pole position in the qualifying practice for Junior Max here on a 1 minute 16.736, just ahead of Ollie Pilker from Poland. And then it's Chris Harnon and Jeffrey Fixer with Kai Rilletz having a great stellar showing in the 274 to take 5th ahead of Mike Van Vugt in the 201, the current defending and reigning Junior Max driver in the BNL Karting Series in terms of the champions Roll of Honour. Then it's Christian de Klein, Flint Schuring, Mylan Coppens and Jeff Machiels, who ran at the top 10, all separated by 0.964 seconds. Danny Van Dijk, Dan Ginchard, Georgios Kalifadis from Greece, Matthew Higgins and Spencer Shinner from United Kingdom round out the top 15. And then it is Molders, De Wit, Breken, Reinarts, all the way down in 19th place. Knappen, Castro, Bonvoisin, Genser, Adams, so that's Tom Adams down in 24th. He definitely would have wanted to be a bit higher up than that. Lars Zanen, Oscar Christensen, Jan Ozoffi, Callum Voisin, Drake Jansen, Jules Van Huel, Sorankov, Baters, Webb, Kirstens and Bergstein round out the 35 strong. So, could the two following drivers, Patrick Rundqvist, 358, and Georgios Bersis, 351, please report to the stewards immediately. That's Patrick Rundqvist and Georgios Bersis from Senior Max. Please report to the stewards immediately. Thank you. So that is now the halfway point of qualifying for the final time this season. And so qualifying will be 5 minutes per category, so we should complete that at around about 20 past 10 this morning. So there's an even break between every single session. And I've just been keeping an eye on the social media side of things at the minute, and for those that are wanting to go to PF International for the third round of the Euro Trophy next year, it's just as saturated as it is here. And I'm going to quote their tweet here. It says, "Morning all, it's all the same sort of day for honing your wet weather skills. Here's to a great day of competitive racing." And they have got a lot of rainfall down there as well. And so it's quite interesting to see that there is a lot of places around Europe in general, the United Kingdom. Germany's getting it, we've got it. It always adds a bit of a nice, spicy dynamic to racing endeavours. But I do feel for, like I say, the marshalling team here at Karting Genk, the staff here that are having to brave the elements, as well as all the drivers and the teams as well. That it's going to be interesting how things go. So please feel free to get involved wherever you are listening. If you're listening to Downforce Radio, the nation's motorsport station, please feel also on the live stream, and if you're here at the circuit, please feel free to contact us by social media at Karting BNL on Twitter, at BMC_BNL on Instagram, and also why not type in BNL Karting Series on your Facebook page on the search engine, and even head to bnlkartingseries.com. So we've got 3 more minutes to wait for our 4th of 6 qualifying sessions here in this very wet-weathered Karting Genk, the home of champions, where we will crown 6 today. So we will see some new names on the honour roll for 2019 as we come to conclude the 11th season of competition. And also, for those wondering about the website itself, it is available in both English and Dutch languages. Still, we're waiting, as I mentioned yesterday during the live broadcast, that we're still awaiting for official confirmation of other major championships before we can then plan our calendar in respective earnest, and then duly inform you through the various places, through various social medias, and also through our website as to when we will be going racing and where we are. So very shortly we'll have Micromax out for their final qualifying session of the season and of the weekend. And in terms of the day results from yesterday, so Len Nys, the number 17 from Belgium, is currently level on points with Thomas Strouwen, both each taking a win apiece. But based on countback, Len Nys actually is considered as the winner of the day 1 result, ahead of Thomas Strouwen, both equal on 41 points. Tommy van der Stoys, 33 to the young Dutchman's credit, level on points with Max Siderski, but again on countback it went in the favour of van der Stoys. Van Langendonk, which is Dries, is 5th ahead of Matej Radenkovic. Ollie Wise has got 2 10th place finishes, so puts him on 12 points and 10th after the day 1 result. And in warm-up this morning, just keeping an eye on the times that they got this morning. Quite a mixed bag, I must admit. It was Dries van Langendonk that took the warm-up top honours. Ollie Wise was actually running in 9th. So let's go qualifying with Micromax for one final time here in 2019. They now head out onto the circuit. And looks like Ollie Wise has got himself into 6th in line there as the drivers jockey for position here at Karting Genk. So the timer has started ticking away. 5 minutes on the clock, and we're now down to 4 minutes and a quarter left in this session. They just come just over half the field have come through turn 7 as the last driver now negotiates it. So it looks like we're going to have, I think that looks to be Olivier Jonkers, I believe, that's going to cross the start-finish line first to set the first banker lap here. So just under 3.5 minutes remaining. The first banker lap goes in from Dries van Langendonk, then Nys in second, Thomas Strouwen, Max Siderski, Casper Schomans, Olivier Jonkers. Ollie Wise sets a 1 minute 23.157. So he's about 2.1 seconds off of Dries van Langendonk at the minute. But hopefully the track will come to the young Brits as the session carries along. So this is probably going to give them maybe, I would think, at a push, and including this one, maybe another 2 flying laps in qualifying. And at the moment, the driver at the bottom end of the field is actually Matej Radenkovic in the number 99 at 1 minute 23.969 in qualifying. And now we'll get a real test as the drivers will have been up to full racing speed coming through the final corner as drivers still jockeying for position. And they're trying to find the optimum amount of grip, and there's 2 GKS drivers going side by side into the run into turn number 10, the fast right-hand sweeper. It looks to be that Len Nice has got up the inside of Tom Strauven and run on the back bumper. Well, trying to go past him is actually Kasper Schurmans, who is actually doing very well and has got past the pair of them around the final corner to maximise his track position. But then that gives Len Nice a bit of a slipstream, as Dries van Langendonk was top, but now it's Kasper Schurmans who goes towards the outside of Len Nice, who sweeps up the inside of the number 40, trying to go through turn 2. Boys, this is not the race yet. Calm it down. Just get yourselves into position and get qualifying. That's where you can see that sometimes an overcalculated risk or a misjudged risk can sometimes not work in your favour, as Nice returns the favour, and they're trying to take different lines on Nice and Schurmans. And they better be careful because they could have interlocked wheels there. Schurman gets ahead of Nice, going into the braking zone as Max Sadurski takes a wider line, as does Ollie Wise from the UK. And Ollie is currently running 8th in the number 56, just behind Tommy van der Stroys. Excuse me, 1 minute and 12 to go on the clock. And it's Kasper Schurmans leading qualifying by a whopping 0.329 seconds ahead of Dries van Langendonk. Len Nice makes it into the top 3 ahead of Thomas Strauven. Max Sadurski rounds out the top 5. Then it's Jonkers, Van der Stroys, Wise, Tobben, Stout, Radenkovic and Tom van Langendonk rounding out the order. So this is going to be their last flying lap. And Schurmans goes back to the top of the timesheets ahead of Dries van Langendonk. Max Sadurski in the meantime has gone past. Well, Sadurski, Jonkers and Van der Stroys have improved in time, but not in positioning. But in the meantime, Ollie Wise has just been deposed down to 12th position. He's still on a 1 minute 22.735, 2.151 seconds off of the pace setter that is Kasper Schurmans, as the field starts hurtling its way down to turn 7 for the final time in this session. And you can just see that everyone's struggling. Any single class out there worth their salt will be pushed to the limit. They will come off the track exhausted beyond belief, but definitely know that every single second of wheel time they put in is worth it in their books, because it helps them to learn. And this is the building block for the Rotax Racing family. These children are the youngsters that will then move up the classes, and also Micromax is competing at the grand finals and has done for a number of years along with Minimax. So the checker flag is now going to wave for the first driver to come across the start-finish line in around about 5 seconds' time. So it waves, and first across the line is Dries van Langendonk. Does not improve. Schurmans takes provisional pole. Van der Stroys doesn't have an answer at all. He's down in 7th. Ollie Wise unfortunately does not improve. Stays 12th. But it could be an equaliser in the wet. He's having some fun out there, is Ollie. I do have to give him credit where credit is due. But Kasper Schurmans takes provisional pole position on a 1 minute 20.584, just ahead of Dries van Langendonk from Belgium. Len Nice and Thomas Strauven make it a Belgian 2-3-4. And the top 4 separated by just under half a second. Then it was a further 0.179 back to Max Sadurski in 5th. Olivier Jonkers a further 2.5 tenths of a second adrift. Tommy van der Stroys excuse me, was 1.1 seconds off of Kasper Schurmans, his chief rival in the championship standings. Karel Stout in 8th, Matej Radenkovic in 9th, Kaz Tobben in 10th, with Tom van Langendonk and Ollie Wise Rounding out the 12 strong. And I have to doff my hat to every single driver braving the elements out there, because it is tough. I can just see the amount of steering input, throttle modulation, and also trying to use the different racing lines, because you have a racing line when it's dry, when it's wet, it is a completely different situation altogether. So we have 2 more qualifying sessions before we go racing, and the next group up will be the Minimax class. Even though that is the smallest subscribed class that we got here this weekend, just 8 drivers, they have provided entertainment in spades as well. So expect a very close qualifying session, or a very expanded qualifying session in terms of the gaps between drivers, as we've seen all the way through the qualifying stages of this final race day of the 2019 season. And then after that, our final qualifying session of the season will be in the hands of the DD2 and the DD2 Masters class at around about 10:15 local time. Local time now is 9:53 AM here in Belgium. So if you're watching from the UK, you're an hour behind. And obviously, whichever time zone you're in, thank you very much for joining us here at the official live stream on the Camp Company GmbH YouTube channel, which is linked with the links for the live stream also being put on our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also the website as well. So please feel free to click the live stream link. That will take you through to the live coverage wherever you are in the world globally. So another reminder for the paddock, our weekend ceremony and championship ceremony podium celebrations will take place at 4:30 this afternoon, at 16:30 local time. However, the location now will not be at the podium on the inside of turn number 11. It will be on the terrace, as we've got a podium being set up there for later on today. So it'll be just off of the restaurant. So if you head to the restaurant and the terrace there, you will be in the dry, believe you me. And we'll be hosting our podium ceremonies for the weekend and for the season at 4:30, where we will also have a little raffle in store for you people there. So we'll have some prizes up for grabs.
Good. Winter Cup. Okay.
Yes, so for those listening on Downforce Radio, there is a Winter Cup coming for the Rotax Max Challenge. 21st to the 23rd of February 2020, being held at the Circuito Karting Campillos in Malaga in Spain. And we have there will be 5 classes being run and promoted by Camp Company GmbH, who also run the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. 5 classes: Micromax, Junior Max, Senior Max, DD2 and DD2 Masters, with prizes including entry tickets and race tyres to the International Trophy and Le Mans next year, and also some entries to the Rotax Max Euro Trophy in 2020. And the calendar is as follows: April the 10th to the 12th, back here at Karting Genk, the first of 4 rounds. Second round will be, the championship will be heading back to the Veneto region in northern Italy, to Adria Karting Raceway, 29th to the 31st of May. Then PF International is the host for round 3, and I know there's been a lot of chatter amongst that on the Euro Trophy Facebook page for PF International. 10th to the 12th of July, and then the 4th to the 6th of September, we head back to Procart Raceland in Wackersdorf in Bavaria in Germany for the final round of that season. 9 tickets for the Grand Finals in 2021 for the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals, and the location for that will be duly disclosed at the end of the Grand Finals itself. Paddock announcement. Can I please again call Senior Max drivers 351 and 358? Please report to the stewards immediately. That's drivers 351 and 358 from Senior Max. Please report to the stewards immediately. Thank you. So the drivers will be Georgios Beresis, 351, and Patrick Rundqvist, 358. Report to the stewards immediately. Thank you. So 2 more qualifying sessions to go here at Karting Genk for the final race day of the BNL Karting Series season. Here at the home of champions, where 6 will be crowned this afternoon at around about 4:30 local time. We'll try and set up a live video on the BNL Karting Series Facebook page so people can watch that as it happens, so you can celebrate with us and enjoy the festivities. So we're looking forward to seeing who gets the tickets to the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals in Sarno in Italy from the 19th to the 26th of October. Just 2 weeks away. You couldn't have it any closer, could you? And with the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals comes pomp, circumstance, also a lot of colour, many different nationalities. 360 drivers will be heading to the Circuito Internazionale Napoli in Sarno, southern Italy, amidst the shadows of Mount Vesuvius for what's going to be one heck of an event. And every single driver that has gone to the Grand Finals and become a champion there, every single one of them, over the last 19 years, have qualified on merits through international and domestic competition within the Rotax Racing family. And again, the Mojo tyres that are used throughout the BNL Karting Series with the D5s and the D2s showing great prowess, great grip and great longevity and providing some fantastic action which has been really enthralling this season again for the BNL Karting Series in its 11th year of competition. And 2020 I think is going to be just as exciting, if not more exciting, next year once we can officially ratify and confirm our calendar. Once that has been arranged, we will let you know in due course. And good to see a little bit on Twitter at the moment through the BNL Karting Series Twitter at KartingBNL. Good to see that a very familiar face has been retweeting and liking what we've been saying, including Bradley Barrett from the United Kingdom. I think he's running in the DKM this weekend, so good luck to you, my friend. DEKM, which is with the Rotax Thundercarts, and they make an appearance again at the Grand Finals this year. Seen one of those up close and personal, I think it was in Brooklyn and Leitha last year. Very impressive bit of kit. I don't know how you can engineer something like that and for it to be competitive, and Rotax have done it, and they've done it in a very good way. But also with the longevity of the Rotax racing engines, now celebrating a 20th anniversary this season, thanks to BRP Rotax. So, it is now 10 o'clock, and we wait to see if... Now, I'm just keeping an eye on the competitors. Looks like Minimax are ready and raring to go in the pre-grid, and here they come, roaring out onto the start-finish straight here at Karting Genk, being led by the 132 of Lakeron Sorensen from Denmark. Jens van der Eyden and Tern Schmidt, you can see that a lot of them will have... Now, for those wondering about how can they keep their overalls dry? Well, they have rain suits, so some will be clear, pretty much clear, and some will be sort of like a big old overcoat that has legs on it. So, as some of the other drivers, looks to be Jaden Thienes, Tim Gerhards and Nick Gerhards. Well, Nick Gerhards has come out of the pre-grid. It looks like Tim has as well. And in terms of the warm-up this morning, Lakeron Sorensen from Denmark was the quickest by over 3.5 tenths of a second, ahead of Nick Gerhards with brother Tim in third. Enzo Boll was fourth on the timesheets with a 1 minute 15.002. Driver Georgios Beresis, 3:51. I repeat, Georgios Beresis, 3:51. This is your final and immediate call to the stewards, please. Georgios Beresis, please report immediately to the stewards. Thank you. So, as I was saying, Enzo Boll was fourth on the timesheets, about 8 tenths of a second adrift off of Lakeron Sorensen, with Jaden Thien down in fifth ahead of Jens van der Eyden, with Jasper Lehners and Tern Schmidt rounding out the 8 competitors, and Tim Gerhardt has a perfect score thus far in the second visit to Genk. 2 wins, 50 points on the board, which means that his two drop scores will be the first 2 at Marienburg on the first day of competition, where Jaden Thiem took a double header of wins. So at the minute, the driver leading the way is Goldschmidt from the Netherlands. The 166 has put in a 1 minute 13.929. Ron Sorensen, second place, a 1 minute 14.194. Jaden Thiem, 1 minute 15.056. As we now hit the halfway point in qualifying, as Enzo Bol takes a wider sweeping line into the turn 10 right-hand sweeper. Tim Gerhardt's in 4th. About 4.5 tenths of a second adrift off of Jaden Thiem. Nick Gerhardt's just behind his brother by just a fraction over a tenth. But then, Goldschmidt again improves on time. Enzo Bol improves on time but does not improve. Stays 3rd at the minute. Nick Gerhardt's in 7th place as Jaden Thiem now goes to within 34 thousandths of a second off of Goldschmidt. Like it on Sorensen, Enzo Bol, Jens van der Eyden rounds out the top 5 with Tim Gerhardt. No, that's changed all of a sudden because the Gerhardts have been working together, it seems. Nick Gerhardt goes top of the timesheets on a 1 minute 13.303. Tim Gerhardt's just 0.171 of a second. That's a 1 minute 13.474 as we go into the last 90 seconds of qualifying. Drivers will find in qualifying in a wet weather situation, the drivers will look to find where they get the most purchase. It may not necessarily be on what you would customarily call the racing line, but if they get a bit more traction using the outside of the corner, it can work to their advantage. But they've got to be careful, because if they hit a standing water puddle, that could unsettle the back end of the kart and possibly pitch them into a spin, which they won't want, because they'll have to then recover. If it's on the final corner, it's not so bad, as long as you've got about 45 seconds to regain your composure, get back up to full throttle, and get over the start-finish line. As into shot is Luckert Sorensen running on the Birrell chassis. Jasper Leinitz stays 8th, but does improve in terms of time. He's done a 1 minute 17.129, but his best effort so far is a 1 minute 16.736. But Tim Gerhardt has just overtaken brother Nick for provisional pole with around 35 seconds on the clock remaining. Still got one more lap in the pocket as the Dutch driver in the number 50. He's just put in a 1 minute 12.931, and that is 0.372 of a second ahead of Nick. And you can just see them working together, coming round, that looks to be turn 6 and 7, so looks like they've been working together and just sort of doing a bit of a slipstream tactic there, which still very much can work in the wet. The driver that's now going to get the checkered flag very shortly will be Denmark's Luckert Sorensen. He'll be the first one to cross the line. And provisionally speaking, the Dane goes second. That's a great effort on the last flying lap, a 1 minute 13.229, just 3 tenths shy of Tim Gerhardt, on and off of provisional pole position. Enzo Bol 6th, Jens van der Eyden 7th, Jaden Thiem down in 5th. Jasper Leinitz, I'm waiting to see when, as the two Gerhardts cross the finish line, line astern with Tim leading Nick, and, well, that was very close indeed on that final lap. Jasper Leinitz did improve on his final attempt to 1 minute 16.592, but it is Tim Gerhardt that, for the second day in succession, takes pole position in Minimax with an impressive 1 minute 12.931. His last flying lap attempt was just 19 thousandths off, 1 minute 12.950. Luckert Sorensen is second for Denmark. Then it's a deluge of Dutch drivers. Nick Gerhardt's in 3rd, Goldschmidt in 4th, Jaden Thiem in 5th, Enzo Bol in 6th, Jens van der Eyden 7th, and rounding out the 8 strong is Belgium's Jasper Leinitz in the 177. So now we come to our final qualifying session of the season, and concluding that will be DD2 and DD2 Masters here at the home of champions, Karting Genk in Belgium. And coming into today, we'll have a look at the warm-up results and then also yesterday's results. So Zonda Triblak was quickest in DD2 this morning by over 4 tenths from David Remy. Lasse Andreasen and DJ Liveris rounding out the top 4, with Janne Gussens rounding out the top 5. Carl Klerbert was quickest in the wet for the DD2 Masters by just over 2.5 tenths from Belgium's Christoph Leinen in the 5.88. Christoph Adams, Andreas Schindler and Michael Becker rounding out the top 5, separated by just over 1.6 seconds. And then into the day 1 result, Zonda Triblak was the one that really did a very good job and took 2 wins. But now we have a green flag waving, and the DD2 and DD2 Masters contingent come out onto the circuit here for their last qualifying session of the season. And looks to be that DJ Liveris is the first one out, trying to get optimum track position rather than having to fight his way to jockey for it down with the rest of the field, as they all stream their way through, powered by these fantastic Rotax Max Evo engines, 125cc, running with centrifugal clutches. So DJ Liveris will be the first one to set a banker lap in terms of the DD2 class, but then Christoph Leinen from Belgium will be maybe the first of the DD2 Masters contingent that will cross the start-finish line to set their initial banker lap, as in the initial pace that we'll see through these very, very tiptoey type driving styles that we'll become accustomed to over the course of the days running here at Karting Genk. So Zonda Triblak sets the initial pace of a 1 minute 15.211, over 2.3 seconds quicker than Janne Gussens in the 490. Carl Klerbert is, would you add him and Eve it, around about just over 3 tenths off of the same pace as Janne Gussens. So he's looking to consolidate what's been a fantastic weekend, nevertheless, but also what's going to be, for him, a very well-deserved championship run, because he got the perfect score, but it was he didn't have the best of run of luck in qualifying yesterday.
Hi.
It's quite funny when you get visitors in the commentary box and the door's shut for a reason. But after qualifying, I'm going to go out and speak to him. But 2 minutes and 35 on the clock to go. Zonda Triblak is still around about 2.3 seconds ahead of Janne Gussens in terms of qualifying pace, as you can just see how much these drivers are having to work behind the steering wheels. And it was Lasse Andreasen in front of Carl Klerbert going through what was effectively turn 10. And both of them were just thinking, I've really, really got to just keep it planted, as Zonda Triblak goes quicker again and goes to a whopping gap of that's 2.5 seconds quicker than DJ Liveris from Greece. Christoph Leinen, David Remy, Janne Gussens, that's the top 5, but Leinen is actually the quickest of the DD2 Masters drivers, and that is by 6 tenths of a second over Carl Klerbert, who's currently running in 7th overall, but 2nd in class. So at the minute we've got Triblak, Liveris, Leinen, Remy, Gussens, Andreasen, Carl Klerbert, Sebastian de Grand, Michael Becker. We've then got the 442 of Jamie Billings, Silvio Piperhartor from Germany in 11th, ahead of Jordi Klerbert in 12th, son of Carl. Fritz Svensson 13th, Andreas Schindler 14th, Christoph Adams in 15th. As Jordi Klerbert now goes into the top 10 with a great little lap there. 1 minute 18.256. And that puts him around about half a second off of the pace that his dad is setting at the moment. So Fritz Wernsen, Andreas Schindler, Christoph Adams rounds out the top 15, which puts Adams... Well, actually, there's been a change in DD2 Masters as Karl Klebert, with around 50 seconds to go, gets ahead of Christoph Leinen for position by about 2.5 tenths of a second. So Karl Klebert, Christoph Leinen, Sebastian de Grand, Ronald Billings, Jamie Billings, and that is Michael Becker, as Sebastian de Grand now closes the gap to Zander Schriblak. But it's not going to be enough. He's making a charge for pole, but he's not going to get it. He's about 1.9 seconds off Schriblak, who's just come through turn 8. You can just see, but for those watching the live stream at home, you can just see the amount of correction he's having to use at certain points on the circuit. And he's just having to use a little bit of opposite lock there, heading into turn 10. Gingerly bumps over the curbs there. And then as he puts the power down, the back end sort of slides to the right. He's going to take the checkered flags, and that concludes the qualifying sessions for the season. So Schriblak does not improve on the time, but it was close. It was a 1 minute 14.241, so provisionally speaking, he has got pole position for the penultimate race of the DD2 and the DD2 Masters campaign here at Karting Genk. He did a 1 minute 14.196 as his best lap. David Remy third. Karl Klebert 1 minute 16.584 puts him fourth overall, but pole position in DD2 Masters. Lasse Andresen in fifth ahead of Jan Negersens. Dionysius Livris, Christoph Leinen, Christoph Adams are in the top 10. So that is 3 DD2 Masters drivers in the top 10. And then we've got Jamie Billings in 10th, Fritz Wernsen in 11th, Jordi Klebert in 12th, but has still to cross the line as the 525 of Tamsin Germain crosses the line. Does she improve? No, unfortunately not. 1 minute 22.372. That was her best lap on the last attempt. Ronald Billings from the UK hasn't actually set a lap time, so he will start from dead last a little bit later on, as Jordi Klebert goes 12th at the end of that session. So Zander Schriblak takes top honours in the final qualifying session of the season for DD2 and DD2 Masters overall. Ahead of Sebastian de Grand, David Remy, Karl Klebert, Lasse Andresen, Jan Negersens, DJ Livris, Christoph Leinens, Christoph Adams, Jamie Billings, Fritz Wernsen, Jordi Klebert, Michael Becker, Andreas Schindler, Silvio Peperato in 15th ahead of Wout Coulson, Konrad Bayer, Wout Antonissen all the way down in 18th ahead of Tamsin Germain, with Roland Kinch rounding out the 20 strong that were able to put in a qualifying lap, unlike Ronald Billings. So that concludes qualifying for the season for all classes, and at 10:35 we go racing once again, one final time here at the Home of Champions. So with the final qualifying stages of the season well and truly out and over and done with, it's time to go racing for the final time this season. We're just around 30 seconds away for getting our first of 3 Senior Max qualification heats underway here at a very wet and slightly windy Karting Genk here in Belgium. Now it is crunch time. Now it is to find out who will become our one of 6 champions here this very afternoon, with the podium celebrations getting underway for both the weekend winners and the championship standings at 4:30 local time. We'll be running all the way through till around about 12:25 or so today, where we have the lunch break, where we'll have the second and penultimate qualifying heat of the day for Senior Max. As the Rotax Raw now heads out onto the circuit for the first of 3 qualifying heats for Senior Max. And your grid is as follows. Jason Lockwood on pole position will have Mick Knowlton alongside for close company on the front row. Charlie Turner and Clayton Ravenscroft complete an all-British row 2. Andreas Hebauer and Belgium's Iljan Brunsils complete row number 3 with Sam Harrison and Portugal's Guilherme de Oliveira on row 4. Rounding out the top 10, it's 2 Brits in the form of Kieran Gifford and Kian Sang. Nick van der Mosselaar and Teddy Clinton round out the top 6 rows ahead of Tom Edmonds and Will Jenkins. Lorenzo Stock and Clementine Benoit, that's row 8. Mario Sidler and the Philippines' very own Eduardo Cosseteng in row number 9. Ehad Turka from Turkey and Victor Plateau from Belgium complete the top 20, and rounding out the 29 strong are Tim Mika Metz from Germany, Ben Donkin from the United Kingdom. Well, we've got Storm Brewer up there as well. Ben Donkin, Max Demerdink. Well, we've got the slightly different order there from what I thought it would have been. So it's Lockwood, Knowlton, Charlie Turner, Clayton Ravenscroft, Andreas Hebauer, Liam Brunsils, Sam Harrison, Guilherme de Oliveira. Not too sure now. Now we've got the red light showing on the starting gantry. The timer has inadvertently started ticking away. So the red lights are on the gantry for what will be 7 minutes plus an additional lap here at Karting Genk. So the drivers now get into formation for the first of 3 Senior Max